Okie dokies, artichokes, let's get started. So first of all, I'd like to apologize for the festive theme on my nails. If you're watching this in the month it was filmed, aka December, these make sense. If you're watching it in January, because you are on track, then it doesn't make sense. So I apologize for the festive theme. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about standard form versus y equals mx plus b form. So we're most familiar with this one. Remember that m stands for growth and b stands for beginning. In this chapter, we're going to start to give them different names. So growth is now going to be known as slope, and beginning is going to be known as y-intercept, which we've already talked about in a couple videos in chapter 3 and in chapter 4. You guys are most familiar with this because this is the one that we use all the time. If I were to give you, let's say, y equals 3x plus 5, right? Hopefully, at this point, you guys could tell me that I am growing by 3. So my growth triangle would be 1, 3 on a graph, right? It's my growth. So m equals 3. And you could tell me that my y-intercept, so where my line crosses, is 5. Or where it begins, so 0 is 5 on a table, figure 0 has 5 tiles in a tile pattern. This should be pretty easy for you to look at this point. Today we're going to take a look at something that's called standard form. Now it looks scary, but it's not, I promise. For example, let's do something like this. That is in standard form, okay? Unlike in y equals mx plus b form where the y has been isolated, the y and the x are on the same side. This does mean that it's going to involve some solving to get it back to y equals mx plus b, which is an easier form to read. But for right now, when you answer a question on Nearpod, what do you think the growth is? And what do you think the beginning is? Okay, so you may have told me that you think the growth is 8 or negative 8 because it's right with the x. It's a pretty good guess. You may have told me the beginning is 16. Also a pretty good guess. Would you be shocked to find out that the growth is actually 2, a positive 2, and that the beginning or y-intercept is actually 4? And you're probably wondering, how? How on earth did you know that? So let's walk through it. Put that to the side. Rewrite this. So we have, oh, I did that wrong. 4y minus 8x equals 16. So we're going to solve this bad boy. Let's do that in a different color. Blue. Let's do it in blue. So, as always, blue. Now, what do you think I'm going to try to solve for? Answer that question on Nearpod. Some of you may have said x, and I mean, I always solve for x, right? Or I always solve for whatever variable's there, but here's the problem. There are 2 variables here. That's an issue. So which one do I need to solve for? Well, my ultimate goal is to get this to look like this, which means what I need to isolate is y. So in technical terms, I am solving for y. If I want to get y all by itself, what's currently bothering my y? The negative 8x's, and that's a problem. So let's get rid of him first. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 8x to both sides. Remember, we talked about this over and over and over again. These need to be opposites. Negative 8x minus 8x isn't 0, it's negative 16x. If you want to create a big fat 0 pair, you need to do opposites. Always opposites. So the next thing that's left is 4y equals 16 plus 8x, sorry. Now, something I want to point out to you guys, because this is very confusing, I find, most years. So if you don't get it, it's okay. We'll keep working on it. If you look up here at 8x and 16, this is 16 units and these are 8x's. Are they the same thing? No, they are not the same thing. I cannot add them together. So every year the common mistake is people add 16 and 8 and get 32 x's. Not what we want. Actually, sorry, they get 24 x's. Which is not the right answer at all. Okay, it's not 24 x's, it is 16 plus 8x, because these two are very different things. These are 16 little square units, and these are 8 big, long x's. Okay, they do not combine, so don't do that. The very last thing that we're going to do is the same thing that we do at the end of every single equation. What is that? Divide. Hopefully you said that. I'm going to divide. Now, the tricky part with this is that I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides, but that means I have to divide every piece on this side by 4. Okay? So 4 divided by 4 is just 1, so we're left with 1y. That's how we always like it on x's and everything. And then we're going to divide 16 by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And 8x divided by 4, and we're just going to do the 8 divided by 4, is 2. So I have 2 x's. Boom, we did it. Okay, y equals 4 plus 2x. So now, if we take a look at this, and I can rewrite this, 2x plus 4, they're the exact same thing according to commutative property. Oh, sorry. I realized my paper's off the screen. Now, you can very plainly see that my growth equals 2. So my growth triangle is over 1 up 2. And then you can also very plainly see that my beginning equals 4. And that's it. It's a pretty easy concept. If you're having trouble with this, go look up standard form on Google, and then we'll have some really great answers for you. And problems worked through. Khan Academy does a bunch of this. So today, in today's lesson, all you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking standard form, and you're going to be turning it into this. Or there are a couple problems today where they ask you to solve for a certain variable. In this case, I would have said solve 4y minus 8x equals 16 for y. I solved for y, y is isolated. So let's say you're doing another problem. Let's say you're doing a problem. No sense wasting paper. Let's say you're doing a problem that is 6a plus, I don't know, 3b equals 12. Okay? So 6a plus 3b equals 12. And I say, I want you to solve for b. How would you do that? Well, I need to get b all by itself like I did my y, or I do my x's. So what is bothering my b? The 6a. So we're going to get rid of the 6a. This creates a big x0 pair. And so I'm left with 3b equals 12 minus 6a. Is b isolated yet? Not quite, because I only want one b. Right now I have 3 b's. I don't need 3 b's, I need 1 b. So we're going to do the exact same thing that we did. Let's see if I can turn out the paper. Exact same thing we did here, where I divided the whole thing by 4 so I could find a single y instead of 4 y's. We're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to divide everything by 3. And I get b equals 4 minus 2a. And that's what b equals. So if I asked you to solve for b, that's what you'd do. If I ask you to solve for a, you'd obviously need to move b and divide by 6. So that's all you're going to do today. You have about 6 or 7 problems where they want you to solve an equation for a certain variable. Shouldn't be too hard today, but if you have any questions, please come ask me. And as I am filming this in December, I am not entirely sure whether or not we will be virtual or not when we do chapter 5, so if it's online, come ask me online. If it's not online, ask me in class. I love doing this stuff. I love to tell you. Okay. Okie dokie, artichokes, that's been the lesson. Have a good January and or December whenever you're watching this. Goodbye!